Everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Look, if you're leading an engineering organization, making decisions about your technology stack isn't just about picking whatever is new or trendy, right? It's really about risk mitigation, long-term stability, and absolutely maximizing the return on your engineering investments. So today, we are breaking down the recent Google I/O announcements around Flutter 3.44 and Dart 3.12. And let me tell you, what we're looking at here is definitely not just a simple version bump. As we'll see while we analyze the source material, Google is positioning this release as a massive strategic leap in both enterprise stability and AI integration. We're going to unpack the 7 key updates from this release as an executive strategic briefing and figure out exactly what they mean for your bottom line and your development lifecycle.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our agenda for today. First up, AI-driven developer efficiency. Then, generative UI and UX. Third, platform expansion and performance. And finally, strategic stability.
Starting us off with Section 1, AI-driven developer efficiency.
So if you want to tackle overall development lifecycle costs, you really have to eliminate context switching. And these full-stack Dart enhancements do exactly that. This brings us to our first key update. Dart is now officially supported on Cloud Functions for Firebase. This is a huge deal because it means your team can now write HTTP and callable functions directly in Dart. You're effectively unifying your front-end and back-end logic under a single language. That just completely streamlines your infrastructure and vastly simplifies workflows for your developers. Alongside this, and this is our second key update, Dart 3.12 introduces some really neat syntax features, like private named parameters and primary constructors. For your business, this simply means drastically less boilerplate code. And less boilerplate leads to faster development cycles, easier onboarding, and way fewer bugs for your enterprise apps.
Now, consider the stark contrast between traditional coding and our third key update. Traditionally, integrating AI tools comes with a ton of heavy manual setup and high friction. But now, Google has launched a brand new collection of Dart and Flutter agent skills. And these aren't just your generic run-of-the-mill AI prompts. They are highly specific, step-by-step instructions that your coding agents can seamlessly reference to complete tasks based strictly on recommended Flutter best practices. Giving your AI assistant a senior engineer's playbook like this radically accelerates task completion, which, you guessed it, directly drives down those overall development lifecycle costs.
Building right on top of that integration is our fourth key update, a brand new feature called agentic hot reload. So the crucial point is this. Hot reload, that fantastic feature that lets developers see their code changes instantly with having to restart the app, will now just work automatically with your favorite coding agents completely out of the box with zero manual setup required. By limiting that configuration friction, agentic hot reload fundamentally accelerates the iteration loop. That translates directly into reduced engineering hours and, of course, lower enterprise development costs.
Let's look at how this all builds into a complete, seamless AI workflow. First up, UI validation is getting a lot faster. Widget previews, which were introduced previously, now have full support for the Flutter inspector. This means your developers can validate little pieces of the UI entirely separately from a running app. Second, for the backend, developers can now build full-stack, production-ready agentic apps using the new GenKit Dart open-source framework, which beautifully handles both the server and client sides. And finally, when it comes time for deployment, full light art support is coming to the Flutter_Gemini package. Basically, this means your apps can run powerful models entirely on-device, fully benefiting from hardware acceleration. For your business, processing on-device rather than in the cloud drastically cuts down those compute costs while maximizing user data privacy. It's a real win-win.
Moving on to Section 2, Generative UI and UX.
If you've used an AI chatbot recently, you are probably very familiar with asking a question and just getting back a massive, intimidating wall of text. Well, Generative UI changes all of that, and it forms our fifth key update. Generative UI is a user experience paradigm where the AI actually constructs and responds in real time with dynamic, interactive user interfaces. This incredible concept was pioneered by the team at Google DeepMind with the visual layout experiment in the Gemini app late last year. For your business, this means moving far away from static text and instead providing highly personalized, visually rich interactions that are generated on the fly.
And to make this an actual reality for your development teams, Google has introduced Flutter's Gen_UI SDK. This SDK provides the essential, highly robust foundation needed to build these dynamic, real-time AI experiences right into your applications. Your engineering teams no longer have to spend weeks building the complex plumbing required to translate AI output into visual components. With the Gen_UI SDK, they are handed the ready-made tools to construct these highly engaging, personalized interfaces efficiently and, most importantly, safely.
All right, Section 3, Platform Expansion and Performance.
When you're expanding your digital footprint across different platforms, the performance absolutely cannot feel like a cheap port. Our 6th key update focuses heavily on this, and it's anchored by a very hard metric, a 40% boost. On the web platform, Flutter has completely overhauled its WebAssembly render path. By utilizing something called frame arenas, which is essentially a much smarter and significantly more efficient way to manage memory, they have effectively eliminated jank and stuttering during rendering. This massive architectural optimization drives an up to 40% performance boost for web applications. It ensures that your enterprise web portals are going to feel just as smooth and responsive as native desktop software.
And that fierce dedication to quality rendering extends across all the core platforms. Over on Android, this release marks a foundational leap in integration through hybrid composition, which actually lets the Android OS natively handle layer compositing for even faster performance. For iOS, they've officially moved to Swift Package Manager as the default for all projects. This aligns perfectly with modern Apple development standards, making it so much easier to hire and onboard standard iOS developers straight onto your Flutter projects. And under the hood, the Impeller graphics engine guarantees high-quality, perfectly anti-aliased rendering, even for your application's most complex shapes and animations. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer unmatched scale of Flutter's ecosystem reach today. It is definitely not just about mobile phones anymore. Get this, Toyota is actively using Flutter to power the entire multimedia system in the upcoming 2026 RAV4. That really proves its viability for embedded, mission-critical automotive systems. On the desktop front, Flutter now natively supports robust multi-window environments and separate dialog windows. And if you're targeting the living room, keep an eye out for the upcoming LG WebOS SDK. That's going to allow you to bring your Flutter apps directly to big-screen smart TVs, complete with support for Firebase, video players, and even gamepads.
Finally, Section 4, Strategic Stability.
When you decide to adopt a technology at an enterprise level, you need absolute assurance that it will survive and scale with you. Our 7th and final key update involves 2 massive architectural shifts designed to guarantee exactly that. First, Flutter is initiating one of the biggest architectural changes in its history by decoupling the Material and Cupertino design libraries from the core framework. This yields a much leaner, more streamlined core framework, complete with automated migration support to really minimize the upgrade burden on your teams. Secondly, and this is crucial for those of you building desktop applications, Google announced an expanded partnership with Canonical, the makers of Ubuntu. Canonical is officially stepping in to serve as the lead maintainer and strategic steward for Flutter Desktop. Having a massive, enterprise-focused OS company take the reins like this ensures rock-solid long-term stability, maintenance, and growth for all of your desktop engineering investments.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a rather crucial question to take back to your teams. Is your current tech stack natively equipped for an AI-generated, multi-platform future? The updates we've seen to Flutter 3.44 and Dart 3.12 clearly indicate exactly where the industry is moving, toward AI-assisted development, dynamically generated user interfaces, and incredibly seamless performance across every conceivable device class. The tools are right here to reduce your development costs while vastly expanding your reach. Now, it's really up to you to decide if your architecture is ready to take full advantage of them. Thank you so much for joining me for this briefing. Keep pushing forward.